Hi everybody, in this video we will be talking about the UI. We'll probably get into text, the Text Mesh Pro, but let's get started. First we're going to start with the text. So I'm going to click text, and when I do, it's going to create a canvas and an event system. I will talk about those later on since they are also in the UI section. Here's event system and canvas. Like I said, I'll talk about that later on. So if we go to the text, you could see, you can't really see it on the screen view. You could see a little text right here, but if we go to the actual scene view, we could see the text over here, and I'm gonna bring it up. Now we get a rect transform instead of a regular like a game object where we get the transform. We actually get this text transform or rect transform, and then after that we get this canvas renderer. So this, if you have it checked, this is only checked if the vertex color alpha is close to 0 for every vertex of the mesh. So if that's true, just click it. If not, just leave it as it is. Usually don't have to click this at all. I haven't clicked it so far, but if you do, just click it. After that, we're gonna make this bigger. This rect transform, we're gonna make it bigger. We could either do that right here. We could move the position on the X, so on the red line, the horizontal left and right, or on the Y, up and down, the yellow line. And then Z, we don't have to worry about that because this is a 2D game. But even for a 3D game, you do not have to worry about that. I'll show you a little bit later. And then right here, we could adjust the width and the height. And for the reason we do that is when we adjust the font size, if let's say it starts cutting off, right here it says new text, and as soon as it starts cutting off, you could just see new. So if you adjust the width, you could start seeing it more, the actual text. And for something unrelated, if you see that when I adjust this, my actual scene view, this little white box which represents the camera, also adjusts with the game view. That is because I have it on free aspect. So if you see this little white box, it kind of gets smaller and wider and moves around, and that's because I have it at free aspect. If you don't want that to happen, you could choose standalone or Android. So if I choose, let's say, standalone, now when I adjust this, no matter what, that white box stays the same size. So same for if I have it at Android, same thing. But for now, I'm just gonna keep it at free aspect. And then so back to this. After that, you could, once we adjust this how we want, we could just enter any text we want. So anything, if I can spell it right, anything we want. And then for here we got the font, the actual font. So you could change the font. I have the Text Mesh Pro installed. So what was I gonna say? So you could just these fonts come with it, with the Text Mesh Pro asset. And to get that Text Mesh Pro asset, what you could do is you could go to Window, you could go to Package Manager and look for it, or you could just create a Text Mesh Pro game object or UI, any one of these, and it will ask if you want to import Text Mesh Pro. If you have a project already made, and I would suggest you make a copy of your project before you download it. But if you don't, just download the Text Mesh Pro assets. It will also ask you after you download the assets. There'll be a large box on top. It'll have two buttons, one on top, one on the bottom. The top one will tell you to download it, and the bottom one will tell you to, if you want to download extras. So these are the extras: the font, some materials, some different little extra stuff that you'll see. So I'm gonna change this to Roboto bold, and then font style, I can make it even more bold. I could italicize it. I could make it bold and italic, and I could change the font size, of course. Line spacing, as you can see that the words on the bottom are getting more spaced out. We could also have rich text. So rich text, if you have this checked, it lets you use emoticons and colors. and then you could also, this alignment right here, it aligns to this little grayed out box. So whatever we have in this, so now we have this big old gray box. So if we wanted to align it to the middle of this box, we just hit the middle, or if you wanted to align it to the right, to the center, to the bottom, top, you get it, you get the point. And then align by geometry if you just want to align by the geometry of whatever this is on. And then you could also use horizontal overflow. So when you, let's say you shrink this, as you can see, the words stay in the box, or the text stays in the box. If you have this to overflow, it will just overflow the box, so it will pass the box no matter what. And then same with vertical. If you have it overflow, it will overflow. If not, it will just go over the box. Then best fit. So if you have this checked, you can have two sizes, a minimum size and a maximum size. And then you could also adjust the color, any color you want. You could change the material. So if you have a font material, you could actually change that. I don't really have any font materials. Well, I have these, but you can't really see anything. I don't really think they do anything. But you could probably get a material for your font, make it have like a chain like material or a wooden material, something like that. But you would have to model it with the actual text. And then raycast target. So you would only have this checked if you want this to be a clickable object. So if you want this object to or this text that when you click it, it does something. If you want that to happen, have this checked. But if you don't want it to do anything if you click it, just have this unchecked. And then this is the padding. So if you have this checked and you want this text to do something when you click it, you can have the padding. So this gives it more extra padding to be able to click it outside of the text, so we don't actually have to click on the text. We could click around the text. And then this is maskable. So if you want it to be maskable, I'll talk about this probably in the next video. This is when you make a scroll view where you could actually scroll. You have a little scroll bar on the side, kind of like this scroll bar over here. When you have that, anything outside this little viewport, or this little viewport, you could say, you won't be able to see it. With this off, you will be able to see it. So if it's maskable, anything outside this little box that has this scroll view with the scroll bar, you won't be able to see it if it's checked on. So it'll make more sense when I show you in a later video. But anyways, that's that for the text. Now I just want to show you real quick that it also works on the 3D view, or on a 3D game. So this would be a 3D game. I just have a camera and a directional light. So for a 3D game, as you can see, it's 3D. I can move it around, change perspectives, all that. So you would do the same thing, go to UI, add a text. And what I like to do, even if I'm on a 3D game, is, as you can see, that the UI canvas is over here, and it's kind of hard to like figure out how to adjust it or whatever. So what you could do, sorry about that, what you could do is you could just click 2D up here, and now as you can see, it snaps into a 2D game view. And now it's easier to play around with your thing, or your text. Also, another thing I forgot to mention, you don't have to exactly adjust the width and height right here. If you go to these tools right here, I think I have mentioned this in a previous video. This is just to move around. This, you could move the actual game object. This is to move around in the scene. And this, you could rotate it. You could scale the game object. Now this is handy for UI or canvas objects, game objects, because you could just grab it and adjust it like this. Of course, if it's a 3D object, it's hard to do this, but for 2D objects or canvases, this is a great tool. And this just allows you to do everything. So you could move it, you can rotate it, and you could also scale it. You could rotate it, scale it, and everything. This is for when you if you wanna create any custom tools. You could create custom tools right here. But yeah, that's how that works for the 3D. Everything is exactly the same as the 2D, as what I'm going to be showing you in the other 2D tutorial project. But I just wanted to show you so you could see. But in case you do want to see a 3D UI covered in a 3D project, let me know. But like I said, it's pretty much the same. The only difference is you'd probably have to click this to make your life a little easier. But that'd be it. So back to the 2D project. So in the 2D project, we're gonna add the Text Mesh Pro. Like I said, if you don't have it, when you click this, it will add a screen right here. The first button will tell you to download it. The second, after you download it, the second will tell you if you want to download extras. So I'm gonna move this regular text up here, and this Text Mesh Pro is a little different. For this, you don't have to actually go here. You can if you want, but you don't have to if you want to adjust the rect transform box. You could also adjust it here the same way, but you could also just do this and it'll adjust the box for you. You could also, it has the same pretty much properties right here. You could check this if the vertex colors or the vertex color alpha is close to 0. Now this is where it gets interesting. We get this component instead of this text component. We get the Text Mesh Pro text UI component. Now this you could add the same thing, anything you want. And then right here it says enable RTL editor. This is if you want to enable right to left editor. Now what that is it will just flip this whole sentence uh around, so backwards. So if we click this, as you can see, it's completely gibberish, but it's just backwards. And as you can see, anything you want, it's spelled just backwards. And then after that, so you could put anything here, hi world, and it will do it automatically for you. And then after that, you could choose the style of the text. So H1, H2, H3, that's, you could, go through each one, choose what you want. I'm going to keep it at normal for now. You could also use quotes, title, link. We'll keep it at title. And then we could change the material here to anything we want. If we have materials for it, the Text Mesh Pro Extras, if you download that, has all these materials that I'm clicking on right now. Then we could also change the style to bold. If we want to bold it, italicize it. If we want to make a underline under the whole word. If we want to strike the whole word out, so make a line through it. If we want to lowercase the letters. If we want to uppercase the letters. And this is if we want to uppercase all the letters, but you could kind of see it. So the first word is taller or bigger than the first letter. Let me try that again. The first letter is bigger than the rest of the letters. So as you can see in each word. So as you can see, the H is bigger than the I. You can see the W is bigger than the rest of the word world. And then after that, you could change the font size. You could also auto size, the same thing. It gives you the min, the max, but it also gives you the percentage. So this compresses characters width up to the value of the percentage you give it. So depending on the, and as you can see when you're adjusting this, the font size also adjusts, all that adjusts. And this is for the line. So if you have multiple lines, you could adjust that. Or if you want to shrink the line like we did with the text, for the spacing, same thing. Vertex color, you could change the color anything you want. We'll keep it like yellow orange. And then we could also have color gradient. Now for this, actually I'll put it back to white. I'll click color gradient. And now if you have color presets, you could, choose a color preset. Like I said, Text Mesh Pro has presets for you. But I'm going to create one so you can see. You could choose between single. So this is just one color. Double, or a horizontal, my bad, which is two colors. So two colors, green, red. And then vertical, same thing, but straight across the word. So we could have red and green. And then we could have four corners gradient. So it'd be the four corners, it would give a gradient. So let's say we have blue. So there's blue on this. So so you could better understand it. This gradient, these four colors work on each letter. So as you can see, the blue is on top of this one. It's on top of this one. You could barely see it because of course the letter's not that big, but you can see it on top of this one. The red is over here, purple down here on each of the words that you were able to see because of the size, and then green over here. And then after that, we could change the character or spacing. So if we want the spacing of each letter to be wider, let's go back to single, or actually let's take this off. And then we also have lines. So if we want, just like the other text, now we also have word. So this is the actual word spacing. So if you have them, let's see. So this is the word. So if you want to space out the words when you have them on the same line. Now this is paragraph. Paragraph, if you have multiple paragraphs. A paragraph. So this is one paragraph, this is another paragraph. So if you have another paragraph, you could just adjust that, make them closer to each other or distance from each other. Now after that, there's alignment. So this aligns it to, of course, this box right here. So you can have it to make this, so we can show you better, or so I can show you better. I'll make this bigger, way bigger. And now as you can see over here, okay. So I guess this really doesn't have anything to do with that gray box we saw in the text. It would actually be the same thing. We would have to adjust this right here. I don't know why they would have that then. So the best thing to do is to keep these yellow boxes aligned with this gray box over here, and then just adjust the gray box as much as you can, or you even keep it inside this box, and then adjust this. Should be adjust this box right here, but if not, we can just adjust it like that. And then of course, same thing, alignment. It aligns it to the actual box. Oh, now I know what's going on. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on, but this aligns it to the left, middle, right. It's supposed to. This justifies it's the words with the characters. So depending on that, and then this is flush. This would be just geometry center, this top, middle, bottom. This is baseline. So the baseline, let me show you right here. The bottom of it. This would be midline, so right in the middle, and this would be cap line. So just mess with that, and you'll kind of figure out how to work that, or how to adjust all your text. After that, there's wrapping. If you have it disabled, and it's, of course, not inside this box, it will just overflow and it won't matter. If not, if you have it enabled, it will just go downwards. So as you can see, and then overflow, you could change this to different overflows. So as you can see, it adds these ellipses, these 3 dots. You could have masking. So as you can see, you could have turricant, so it only gets part of it and then it cuts it off. You can have scroll rect, so it will work with the scroll rect. Page, so if you have 1 page, 2 pages, so this is page, this would be like page 1 and then page 2, and then linked, so that would be linked together with another text mesh pro text. So let's say I have 2 text mesh pros, game objects, like another one right here, and I move this one, say down here. I could actually link this one to it. Now they're linked, as you can see, hi world A, and then paragraph, so they're linked together. Let's see, after that, we'll put it back to ellipsis. Character, you could have the line offset of a character on the horizontal of a paragraph, or you can match the aspect. For vertical though, you can't adjust this, so you could only adjust the horizontal. Of course, you could change to character line or paragraph, but when you do, there's no little bar that you could adjust it with. And then there's these extra settings. If you click this you really don't have to mess with a lot, but you could, if you want, play around with it. So if we go back to our scene view, we could just adjust everything right here. And this is the okay, so these are margins. This yellow line would be the margins. So you could just adjust the margins right here. As you can see, the yellow lines are updating. You could reverse it, the geometry sorting, or you could have it normal. You could have this statics when you scale it to be true. You could have rich text on or off. As you can see, there's no rich text, and all you see is as you would in a code or in code, raycast target if you want this to be clickable, and when you do click it, something happens. Maskable if you want this to be maskable. Like I said, I'll show you when I make the scroll view a little. How can I explain it? Kind of like this right here, this little bar that you could adjust it up and down. And as you can see, some of these words are now not viewable. If, let's say, I would have had this unchecked when I'm making my own, we would be able to see these letters actually coming into the scene view, into the hierarchy, if that makes sense, and hopefully that explains it a little better. Parse escape characters, if you have this clicked, so when you're coding, you could use, for example, where it says whether to display strings such as, and then it has a quotation marks, and it has that slash n. Normally when you're coding HTML, or for lots of codes, actually, if you add that, it adds a new line. So you could have one line of code and have two different lines in your program, if that makes sense. So if you have this checked on, that will be enabled. You would be able to use those special characters. Visible to sender, this just computes values of characters. Yeah, you pretty much, I doubt you would really need to go into that, but if you're making a complex game that needs to, maybe. If you want me to make a video about that, I will. But like I said, you really don't need it. And then if you want to use a sprite asset, you could use a sprite asset. The Text Mesh Pro provides sprite assets and style sheet assets. So this is, let's say I don't have nothing set up, I could just add these style sheet assets, sprite sheet asset, and it will add it for me. Kerning, this just specifies the spacing between pairs of characters. So you could see the P and the A right here. Adds a little, it kind of gets them together. It closes them up. Extra padding if you want extra padding or not. Now for the shaders, each shader is different depending on your font. So right now I have this font, but let's say I go to Roboto, and now I have this different font. Now the reason it has this font is because I was messing around with it. It has this material, but let's go to another one and you'll see that they're just regular materials. But we're gonna play around with this one and show you how I kind of did this. If you go to the material, you click down this drop down menu, and a lot of game object, anything that you can see is gonna have a material. So pretty much any character, any ground, anything that you see is gonna have a material. Now there's different materials. This is a Text Mesh Pro material, and as you see, it's for mobile. Distance filled, but if I go down here, these are the different shaders that make up the material. So as you can see, there's different materials here, and then I'm just gonna change the color to a red. Now as you can see down here, that you're not able to see in a lot of these color menus, is that for down here, so right here, this is the intensity or the brightness of this color. So if I hide in it, you can see it a little brighter, and it only goes to a certain amount. If you lower it, it gets darker. So let's brighten it. Softness is kind of like as you can see, it adds softness to the text. It adds a layer of fat, if you want to say. And then delay, same thing. It thins the text out, or it enlarges the text as well. So as you can see, now of course you would have to play around with it because depending on your material, some you could adjust it all the way, some you can't. Uh, Outline, you could also click, as it says, click to collapse it so you won't see it. The outline, we're gonna mess with that. We're gonna put, I don't know, a yellow outline, or let's put like a greenish outline, and heighten up the intensity a little bit. And now we can't see it because we don't have no thickness. So as long as we, as soon as we put thickness, we should be able to see it. So you can see, we can see the little words, but you can see these words kind of messed up with these squares. So if you see that, just go back to your face and adjust either the softness or the delay. So anyone you want. And then after that, we'll collapse this and this, and we'll go back to underlay, or we'll go to underlay. When we click underlay, this is just a line around your letters. So if we, let's put, and then if we change the, this is, sorry about that. It's not a line around your letters or whatever. It's actually a shadow. Sorry, I'm about to go to work and I'm thinking about that at the moment. So if you see when I move the X and the Y, you see these little weird figures. And then you could also thin it out, widen it. Same with the softness. Now as you can see, it looks kind of weird. Again, just go back to the face and adjust this however you need to. And maybe this ain't gonna work for me. Yeah, for some reason this font is not working. But you pretty much get the point, the idea. Just adjust it. This is like a shadow. So if you go, if I show you my other font that I did, so you can see I just have the regular color, a regular white, but I could adjust that white to anyone I want. Leave that green. And the softness I have is 0, but I could add softness. I could delete the actual green. I could thin it out, or I could widen it out. Same thing with this one. I could widen out, or I could thin it out. I could make this more softer, so more like a shadow, or more visible. I could change the opacity, or this is the intensity. I could change the opacity right here. And yeah, you just play around with it. You can move it around however you want. And then there's debug settings. This I really wouldn't mess with, but again, if you want to mess with it, this is just looks like a texture. You could change the texture depending on like if you make your own text, you could actually have a texture that goes with that text, and then you could adjust the gradient scale right here. And as you can see, it messes with my gradient, and my gradient, I want to show you since I'm showing you the other font. I don't have a gradient, but it's still messing with it for some reason. So you could always mess with that. If you do end up messing with something and you don't know exactly what number it is and you don't know how to undo in Unity, it's real simple. It's just Control Z or Control Z, and then scale to Y, sharpness, just add sharpness to it, perspective filter. So on the other text, if I adjust this, maybe I'll get the results I wanted. But for the sake of this video, to keep it short, just mess with this, softness, clip, react. Like I said, if you mess with anything and you don't know what to do, just Control Z real quick, and simple as that. This is, of course, stencil ID. This is all has to do with, I don't really know exactly, to be honest. This, I think it has to do with the script coding. This is if you want to use the ratios. The ratios are down here. As you can see, these ratios get generated by whatever you actually input up here. So depending on whatever is inputted up here, these will generate. And then if you want cull mode on, if you want it on the front or on the back. So cull mode, it's just a occlusion culling shadows. And then after that, we on the Text Mesh Pro, we have this little drop down. We have this Text Mesh Pro sub mesh UI, and then as you can see, it has all this, and then it just pretty much has this little script, has the layout. The layout, you could actually choose the layout how you want it, and you could ignore the layout, and when you do, like you seen, you could adjust it. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the Text Mesh Pro text. And wow, we're gonna wrap it up from here because it's already been 37 minutes. Time went quick. Alright, so yeah, that's it. On the next video, I'm gonna cover the buttons and actually the images and the buttons. Hopefully I could cover more. Uh, I'll see you soon, and thank you once again. If you like this video, if it helped you out, please like and subscribe. It will mean a lot to me. Thank you once again.